Travel nursing can bring you to places you've never been before. Tell us your story.
Good morning. It's Rita at the Travel Nurse Channel. I hope everyone is well. So I'm so sorry that I don't have our guest, Mark Everson, one of the writers of ER Nurses, True Stories from America's Greatest Unsung Heroes. There was a glitch in the time between the East Coast and the West Coast. And so my bad, I mentioned it in many of my correspondences, but not in the most recent one. And so poor Mark was waiting for me on the East Coast when I wasn't available. So I'm going to try and organize it better and have our guest, either Matt Everson, Eversman, and or James Patterson, those authors of that fantastic book that I've been talking about and reading, and that I'm sure you will enjoy all about that. But today, I thought I'd talk about what's going on for travelers in the autumn and the winter. So there are lots of assignments already for January and February, but there's still assignments right now going on in November and December. So this is my suggestion. Because this time of the year, people are starting to feel positive about the holidays. Maybe you've gotten your third booster. I'm scheduled for my third booster, so I'm kind of glad about that. But we're starting to consider the holidays and what appeals to us and so forth. And if you're a traveler, you have lots of options. So the first thing is, what's important to you? Do you want to go visit family? Do you want to go where maybe you can ski on your days off? So you need to figure out what looks best for you in the fall and winter months, and then you get to narrow in on what's available, and a lot is available. There's lots available in Southern California, in Hawaii, in Austin, Texas, in Oregon, but maybe your dream is to get some skiing in, and maybe you don't. Maybe you live in Florida or California, so you're thinking about Vermont. And guess what? Yes, there are assignments in Vermont and Boston, Massachusetts. So maybe also that for you, the winter months are a time to visit. I love this too, ghost towns or historical towns. So then New England and Boston and places like that would be attractive to you. So just think about that. And let's see what I pulled up here. Okay. So here are a couple of positions coming up in less than a month, okay? Because we are at not mid-November, we're at November 10th, and these jobs are coming up December 13th, and that's about the time you're going to need if you are considering traveling, is to getting the credentialing done, talking to your recruiter, and getting going on your next assignment. So just a quick look shows us Seattle, Washington, night shifts, 7 p.m. shifts in the hospital there. Shows us NICU in Southern California. Let's look at more. And if you talk to a recruiter from one of the bigger companies, then you're going to find that they are planning the next few months, and their clients are already putting in those orders, anticipating. And I did hear a little bird told me that there's going to be a strike, that Kaiser is talking about a strike. So I don't know what that'll mean, but maybe some of the strike companies will be looking at travelers to recruit for that issue. Usually if that happens, get as much information as possible, because you don't want to offend your comrades and so forth. but the patients will still need care, and usually they will plan those strikes for just 24 hours or a short amount of time, try to get things resolved, and then sometimes those strike issues get canceled, and maybe you'll get paid for being on standby. So ask a lot of questions if you're thinking about that. But I did hear, well, it's not really a rumor, because I was trying to get some information for my mom and about my mom, and she's a Kaiser member, and they were saying at the beginning of their email to me that a strike is in process. Oops, just reminded me to turn off my phone so it doesn't get noisy while we're trying to be present here. Okay, so let me just say, and let me open up the comment line, that this is Rita at the Travel Nurse Channel, and we are here, I am here every week, usually on Tuesday between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, but I'm here today, Wednesday, Pacific Standard Time at 10, and I'll be here for a while, and come join the discussion. This is for anyone in the travel healthcare world. So if you're a recruiter, if you're someone at the hospital, if you're a manager, if you're a doctor with a clinic or a practice, if you're a nurse thinking about traveling, if you're a nurse that has traveled and is rethinking about it, if you are a technician of any kind, occupational, physical therapy, ultrasound, CT scan, MRI, you name it, people travel in the healthcare world, and it is extra special kind of career choice. And I've met many travelers over the year. I did a lot of per diem work when my children were very young, and it really gives you a lot of autonomy and flexibility and variety. So I felt when I was not traveling but working per diem that I had alma maters, because I was familiar with about 5 or 6 different hospitals, and I would visit them when the need arose. So I'd be available certain days of the week when I had childcare. Usually it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday for me, and I try to work 12-hour shifts. So Dad would be the healthcare provider on Saturday and Sunday, and I would bring in this wonderful lady, Nana Marie. We called her Nana Ree. God rest her soul. And that's how we managed, we managed our life at home with our children with that schedule. And so I would go to wherever one of those 5 or 6 hospitals that I routinely went to needed me. And it could be an ICU, it could be a telemetry unit, it could be a pediatric unit on occasion, and it could be a clinic, it could be post-op, pre-op. It was really interesting. Every now and then, they'd even call me in for psych. Now, areas that I didn't go to, and I'll mention where there's always going to be a need, and there are areas that I do not go to, is labor and delivery and the operating room. I did actually, in the small surgical centers, they asked me, and I said, I will, but I am not, that is not an area that I'm really practiced in, but they were, smaller same-day surgeries, and, fortunately, the doctors that I worked with were super helpful, and we managed very well. So I'm a patient care advocate, and I understand, a variety of meds, and so it was okay for me to be in the OR. For me to be in the OR for open heart surgery or, orthopedic surgery, things that I'm not familiar with from that side, no way. But these smaller outpatient surgeries, if they really needed me and begged me, I would, try to be a team member. And so I would do those things. But there's a huge need for labor and delivery nurses always, and operating room nurses and NICU nurses. Those are going to always be very needy. But there are many travel assignments for other areas, including ER and ICU and med-surg. Let's see. I just wanted to give you an idea This is a larger company. This is called Aya Health. And what's going on right now? Here's an ER nurse need. These are all starting in early December, either the beginning of December up to December 13th. They are looking for nurses in the ER for 7P, for 3P. So that was, you would start at 3P in the afternoon, finish up at 3:30 in the morning. And I see ER, ICU, ICU, lots of night shifts. So if you're a traveler and you want to do nights, no problem. Here's one for the medical intensive care unit, and it's a day shift. So lots of shifts through Aya in Seattle. There's another PICU, which is pediatric intensive care, and that is a night shift, and that's in San Diego. So lots of work there. Now, what else did I want to share? The types of nurses that are in demand. Always. I mentioned labor and delivery, but women's health. That includes mother-baby, postpartum. That includes NICU, labor and delivery, nursery in some cases. In the bigger hospitals, sometimes you'll just be in the nursery, but more than likely it's couplet care, so you do the mother and the baby. Intensive care, medical, surgical, telemetry, emergency room, operating room, the cardiovascular OR, that's the open heart surgeries and so forth, and the LTACs. I haven't mentioned them in a while. The long-term acute care facilities and hospitals and psychiatric. So there are needs in almost every area you can think of for travelers. So that is great. And where do you go for the winter if you're a nurse? So if you are looking for winter wonderlands and so forth, you can find that in so many places, particularly if you're looking at January. But if you're looking for a little bit more temperate climate, a change from those winter scenes, then you might want to look at California. You might want to look at Hawaii. You might want to look at Florida. Oregon too. Oregon is quite beautiful, and it's not, it's a little drier than like a coastal, east coastal, like a New England state or Maine and so forth. It's a little bit drier. So it just depends. So you pick what works for you. What's your dream? Like, what do I want to do this winter? And the travel assignments are going to be there. And let's see what else we have here that I targeted for us. Yeah, I mentioned what's the most needed, and that would be L&D and operating room at the top of the list. Neonatal after that. PACU, which is post-acute, post-anesthesia care, which I do quite a bit of in the surgery centers. And then again, pediatric nurses, ER nurses, step-down nurses, pretty much any kind of nurse is needed. And winter, fall, the assignments right now are ready to go. So if you want to get out there and travel in December, January, February, you are not going to have any problems. Just find a recruiter that you work well with, and find a company that you're comfortable with. There are large companies and small companies. We've covered that in the past. Well over 360 companies throughout the states that provide travel assignments. Now, some of those companies are going to cater to maybe women's health and labor and delivery and focus on that. Some of them are going to be more for, say, radiology and all the different techs that work in that area, radiology, CT, MRI, and interventional radiology. So there are companies that focus more on the techs. There are companies that focus primarily on LVNs and CNAs, and there are many travel assignments in that area as well. And then, of course, many big, small, and medium-sized companies are looking for nurses, because nurses make up a huge bulk of the healthcare teams. So here's a comment from a site that I go to sometimes, a trusted site. What type of nurses are the happiest? Now, how they came up with this, I do not know. How funny. So they say the top, I'll give you the top 5 or 6. Here we go. Nurse educator. I don't know. I have friends that are nurse educators and nurse educator leaders, but they say that the nurse educator is one of the least stressful nursing jobs available. I'm not sure how they come up with that. 2, school nurse, summer camp nurse. If you love children, this might be the perfect opportunity for you. Nurse administrator. I really think I have to put this caveat on it. I'm sharing other people's research, so take it with a pinch of salt. And also know that nursing has its stressors. If you read the book by James Patterson and Matt Eversman, the stories are fantastic, but they're very, very intense. And we're kind of a crazy breed, us nurse people, us healthcare workers. We thrive on that because we want to help. It's in us to nurture and nurse and medicate and perform to the benefit of those we care for. It's just part of us. I don't know how I got there. I think I started very, very young thinking that I wanted to do that. I'm drawn to people that are healers. I don't know. It's just, maybe it's the family that I was around. I had 2 younger brothers and an older sister, and we cared about each other very much. We lived in a house with our grandparents and my mother and my father, and I don't know. And there was turmoil. My father had issues, he would blow up and so forth. And so maybe we just stuck together and cared for each other so much. I don't know. It's a different times. I grew up in the 60s. So anyway, but I'm drawn to nursing for that piece, to nurture and nurse others. And although the things we do, I worked many years in the ICU. I did things in the home. I did just a variety of things throughout my career. Yes, it was stressful, but I think I thrived on that. I think that's what it is. So, so the happiest nurses, I think it's the person. If you're doing what you're meant to be doing and you love it, regardless of how stressful it is, and if you read the book, ER Nurses, True Stories of America's Greatest Unsung Heroes, and you're not a nurse, or you're stressed out, you're burnt out, you'll think, oh my goodness, these people, why do they do this? We love to do it. We love to do it. It's our great honor and our privilege to do it. And inside sometimes, many times where I had to run a code in the ICU or out in the field or whatever, inside, your heart's going a little faster and you're thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. But you do know what you're doing. You have muscle memory and you have knowledge and you have experience, and you go into action. You start doing your assessments. You start applying your processes and so forth. So, so take it with a pinch of salt that this particular site that I'm looking at is talking about the happiest nurses. So the happiest nurses are nurses that love what they're doing and do it well and are passionate about it. But they have a list, and they say nurse educator is at the top of the list. Then school nurse and summer camp nurses are number 2. Nurse administrators come in number 3. And I guess I was, because I ran a nursing per diem / travel agency for many, many years, and I loved doing that. I love connecting with all the nurses that I employed and all the healthcare facilities that we staffed. Those connections were strong. The 4th one is public health nurse, and I can see that. I can see that being out in the community doing a lot of good. Nurse researcher, nurse informatist. I think that is a little bit more on the technical side. Case management nurses, I get that, and home health nurses, and the list goes on. So, but I hope most nurses are happy doing what they're doing. A good friend of mine that I've known for many, many years, she still does nursing, and she keeps it varied. She's done everything. I called her a transcontinental nurse because she started in England, then she came to the States, and a lovely lady and a wonderful nurse, still going at it and still thriving. She was just telling me the other day that she floated to somewhere, and this poor patient hadn't had a bath in days, and she made it a point to find time in her shift to not only bathe him, but to shampoo him and take care of him and his skin and everything. And she said it was good. It was good for him. She knows it was good for him, and she was able to get it done. And I love that. I love that. That's good medicine, touching your patients, making them feel fresh and clean when they are not in their best place, maybe suffering disease or accidents or surgery and so forth, and nobody having time to spend time with them and bathe them and clean them and scrub their scalp. My goodness. Basic nursing 101, really. So anyway, I want to open the line here. I thought I did. Let me make sure I did. For comments. Okay, that's why we go live, because your input is important and what you have to share is important. And so this is live on Facebook and YouTube, and then it goes into an archive. So I put the titles in so that you can have an idea what the topic will be that day. And I believe today's topic was ER Nurses, True Stories from America's Unsung Heroes by James Patterson and Matt Eversman, but I got the times goofed up, and I apologize. It was to be 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and the information went out as Eastern Standard Time, and unfortunately our guests are very busy and had other commitments. So I hope to have one or both of them on as soon as possible. So I switched today to where do you want to travel in the winter and fall, and found out that there are many, many jobs in the winter and fall. It's November, so they're looking at early December assignments starting, and mid-December assignments starting, and January and February. The companies, the recruiters out there are getting assignments from their clients now for the winter. So then what comes to the person thinking about traveling is, what do I want to do this winter? What looks like a good place for me to travel? Do I want to get my Uggs on? Do I want to ski a little bit? Do I want sunshine? Do I just want to sit somewhere and put my face in the sun when I'm not working? And so, as it turns out, there are many, many places with whatever it is you want available coming this winter. Many assignments coming in. I just looked at tip of the iceberg there. I was just looking with one of the companies, and lots of ICU and ER and step down and med surge all over the place. Okay, what are the specialties? We talked about that are in need, and it's pretty much everything. I did throw in LTAC there because long-term acute care facilities are looking for travelers routinely and this winter. But the top would be the labor and delivery, the operating room, the post-anesthesia, the PACU, neonatal, ICU, ER, pediatric, all of the above. So I'm not hearing from anybody. Oh dear. Should we talk about something different? What other subjects should we talk about? Where are the assignments? I was telling you, Florida is usually warm. Hawaii, usually warm. California, usually warm. So if you're looking for the warmer climates, and Arizona, yeah, nice and dry and warm. They get quite warm actually in the summer months. So we get here in Southern California, what we have, probably a little less since COVID. We call them snowbirds. Snowbirds come here from other climates. Let's see. high-paid travel jobs. And then I talked about a little bit of information that I received that Kaiser will be striking. So there's always that. If that is something you want a short assignment or you want to be helpful and you have some time on your hands, look to some of the companies that do the fast staffing for strikes. And I did hear that Kaiser will be striking. I don't have any dates, so that could be happening. So this is a site called travelnursing.org. The best city for travel nurses. I bet you Austin's in there. Austin has been a big growing city in Texas and needing nurses. So let's look at some of the places that are needing nurses, what the hourly rates are, and what cities are offering this. This would be the best rates in 2021. So that would mean that they probably are in the running for 2022, which is coming up, it seems, so quickly. We'll start with Vallejo, California. That's about mid-California. $55.60 an hour in 2021. Number 10 in one of the top 10 highest paying cities for travelers. Seattle has been big. So Seattle's at $55.61. Norwalk, Connecticut, $55.69. Jackson, Wyoming, $55.94. Now that would be a winter wonderland. Wyoming would have weather. Yeah. So would Connecticut because they're close to the water. Hayward, California, $56 an hour. Summersville, West Virginia, $56.86. Wasilla, Arkansas, what is that? $56.96, as well as Tenina, Arkansas, $56.96. And then Oakland, California, that's our capital of the state of California, $57.20. And then San Jose, California, $57.86. So that was the hourly wage for 2021 for travelers. So interesting to note. And then understand, right, travelers, that your monies are going to be delivered in different ways. And some will save you on taxes and so forth. So always talk to your recruiter about, oh, I'm interested in San Jose. They paid very well in 2021, well over $57 an hour. Can I do that? Can I make that? And it depends on what you're looking for. So how are you going to get there? Do you need travel monies? Do you need a living stipend? Are you going to be bringing your fifth wheel or your motorhome? So there's all those pieces to the salary and to the contract. So so $57.86 is a general hourly rate for a traveler, but it could be potentially actually more or less depending on how you receive that money. Whether you receive it as a stipend, which is untaxed, which is monies for your living circumstances, maybe your car or whatever, and so forth. Could be more if there's bonuses involved. So yeah, those are some cases in point about traveling. And I'm so happy to be with you today. And I do apologize that I don't have a guest author on, but I hope to very, very soon. The book ER Nurses, which just came out in October, ER Nurses, True Stories about America's Greatest Unsung Heroes, is a wonderful book. It's story after story directly from the nurses, mostly ER or ER at some point, some EMTs, some ICU nurses, some military nurses. The stories just, they couldn't be more varied and more heartfelt and fascinating. I just am loving the book. I encourage everybody to take a look at it and stay tuned because we hope to speak. I really do hope to chat with one or more of the authors, which is Matt Eversman and James Patterson, and we will get there at some point. So stay tuned for that. All right, what else can I tell you about what's going on this winter? Oop, did I go too far back? Did I go too far back? Let's get back here. I don't want an ad. Where do nurses go in the winter? Where do nurses go in the winter? Pretty much wherever they want is the answer to that. Yes. You know, and sometimes there's, ask a lot of questions when you're taking a travel assignment. Do you offer education? I turned off that phone, and why it didn't stay off is anybody's guess. Good grief. But ask about CEUs and education and housing and living and holidays and scheduling. Ask lots and lots of questions because you want that assignment to be smooth. You don't want surprises. So the more questions you ask and have answered, the more pleasant your assignment is going to be. So great warmer winter weather travel assignments available this winter near you would be Florida. Florida has lots of options throughout the state. Texas, as I mentioned, Austin, Texas, but not just Austin. Dallas, Houston, Corpus Christi, many, many places in Texas have needs. Well, let's talk about the temperatures that you'll experience. If you go to Florida, the average daily winter temperature is about 70.7. How about that? That's wonderful. It's the second longest coastline on the East Coast, so that's nice. It has over 660 beaches. It's a lovely state. It's a lovely state. Texas, let's see what their average temperature is. So Florida is the second longest coastline. Texas is the first longest coastline. It's a big state, right? So, I'm sorry, not first, seventh. Texas has the seventh longest coastline in the U.S. and Florida has the second, right? Warm winter, lots of beaches. Okay, I'm not weighing in on Florida. I don't know. They have a lovely coastline. It's a peninsula, so they have a coastline throughout. Texas is the seventh longest coastline in the United States. It's over 3,000 miles of coastline. Lots of beaches as well. Their temperature is going to range, because it's such a big state, between 55 to 72 degrees. So that's nice and warm. You have entertainment, amusement parks, walks, beaches, lots of great options for families and kiddos. And I think there's a hair on my face. I'll get my sanitizer out. Anyway, excuse my bath. I put it away. I think the baby kept reaching for it. My little grandbaby kept reaching for it, so I had to hide it. But now she's opening drawers and cabinets. Okay, so there's my sanitizer. Okay, another warm state I mentioned, I'll get into a little bit more detail, would be Arizona. A lovely, nice and warm and dry state. Let's see what they don't have a coast, I don't believe. It's the only state that contains part of the 4 North American deserts: the Great Basin, the Sichuan, the Mojave, and the Sonora. So it has all those deserts. They vary. Now they vary because of the topography going high and low in Arizona, from 40 degrees to 75 degrees. So that's interesting. They have mountain ranges. I really like Arizona. It's easy to get to. And it was one of my first trips post-COVID with some friends. And California, my state, one of my states. I was born and raised in New York, but I've been living in California since 1981. Pretty much, yeah. It's an excellent winter option if you like sunshine. Near the coast, sometimes we do get what we call the marine layer, so we don't always see the sun early, or it'll peak out, you know, when the sun is coming up, but we have a lot of that marine layer, but almost always in the afternoon, there will be sunshine around 3 o'clock. And depending where you're going, Southern California, of course, will be a little warmer Some of the valleys, we have lots of verdant valleys and lots of produce that we grow in California. The, the, the temperature will be in the 60s generally, 60, 60.5. But that doesn't mean like today it will get to 66. But we start out sometimes at 50 or 55, but we always get to the 60s in the winter and the 70s and the high 70s in the summer. It's pretty perfect. Hawaii, another winter getaway to stay warm in is Hawaii. They have miles and miles of coastline, over 1,000 miles of coastline. They are one of the longer coastlines in the United States. I think they come in the top 20. They have lots of interesting sightseeing. They have the Pearl Harbor Museum. They have Pearl Harbor. They have the USS Arizona Memorial. They have volcanoes, the Volcano National Park. They have botanical. They have snorkeling. They have so much. The list goes on and on. Surfing, beautiful beaches, and lots of quiet, tucked away places amongst some of the islands too. So, and there's pictures here that I can't share with you, but beautiful daytime and nighttime escapes of some of these places. Yeah, Florida, beautiful. Because Florida is on the flatter side, when you look at the coast, you can just see miles and miles down the coast. So, all right. Well, I'm going to cut it off because I don't want to bore you with all my diatribe here. It's lovely to chat here, and I can't wait to bring you our guest that wrote ER Nurses, True Stories from America's Greatest Unsung Heroes. I'll keep working on that, and other guests as well. And welcome you to check the Travel Nurse channel on Tuesdays between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This week it was Wednesday, and most weeks it's Tuesday. And check our archives too, because we cover a lot of different topics. We talk about salaries and rates and how to get through an interview, what travel nurses are talking about at any particular time. We talked about COVID quite a bit. We talked many, many subjects. So it's all in the archives. There's more than a year's worth of it. But do try to join us live, especially when we have a guest, because you can enter the broadcast as well with your comments and concerns. And if you want to go live with us, it's pretty easy peasy. I'm happy to interview anybody that is interested. I welcome nurses, technicians, therapists, recruiters, doctors, nurses. You're all very, very welcome to join the conversation. So stay on for one more moment or two. I've got a little commercial here, and stay well, and I'll see you next week.
Travel nursing can bring you to places you've never been before. Tell us your story.